Okay, let's see here. Commentary material, check. Microphone, check. Old editing software, check. Background footage, check. And some new assets for presentation, check. Alright, it looks like everything's almost ready to go. Now all I need is to make sure all of my talk sprites are in order. Excuse me. I didn't really come prepared with anything else, so I guess enjoy this while I, go and find my bearings. Oh boy, it's been a long time since I did this. Yikes. This was much longer of a hiatus than I thought it was going to be. The last commentary I've done was back in October of 2024. Jeez, can't believe it's already been 2 whole years. And after that, I've just been on and off with content with the occasional vocal cover and meme video here and there. I definitely want to get back into the swing of things, since lately procrastination has been a huge thorn in my side. So what better way to return to commentaries than with a response to, at the time, one of the more recent discussion topics in the film space. On February 27th, 2025, Universal Pictures released a video called Shrek 5 Cast Announcement, which showcases a teaser for the upcoming 5th installment of the Shrek series while also revealing the cast for the movie. The video was heavily dislike-bombed, with the biggest criticism towards it being the redesigns. A day later, Lessons in Meme Culture made a video discussing the negative reception surrounding the announcement, as well as going over the memes present within it. After watching it, I've had a few issues with the video, thus, here we are. I'll only be covering the first minute of the video, as I have really nothing of note to say with the discussion surrounding the usage of Shrek memes featured in the announcement. That happens later on. With all that being said, let the side quest commence.
A teaser for the new Shrek film has released, and it looks kinda off. Shrek looks like he's had plastic surgery done, with super high cheekbones and a remarkably smooth complexion, and it's all just kind of weird. Some are comparing it to being Disney-fied or AI generated. The characters all just look a bit more generic, despite advancements made in animation since 2010, which was actually the last time a Shrek film released.
Several things wrong with this opening statement. Firstly, while I get where people might be coming from with the whole Disney-fied claim, that being to cause something to become reminiscent of a film or theme park created by the Walt Disney Company, especially in being sanitized or romanticized, you probably need to find a source or an example of someone actually making this comparison at all, especially when you yourself say that some are comparing it to Disney. I also get why some might feel like it might be similar to that style as well, given both DreamWorks and Disney were known to have similar cartoony animation styles, both in 3D and 2D animation. Before Disney went the live-action remake route, of course. There is a chance that most of those employees who used to work for Disney might not work for DreamWorks either anymore, since it has been a decade and people unfortunately move on to other things. So them having Disney-fied this movie might also have been purely coincidental. You could still take issue with it being in the same style as Disney films, don't get me wrong though. However, the main question I want to ask is, why is the thought of this movie being Disney-fied such a bad thing? You're presenting it as this horrible thing for the animation to become more like Disney, but the claim of it being a bad thing doesn't really make sense unless you talk about them as a company and not an animation studio. Sure, Disney the company is corrupt and everything, but their animation over the past decades has been nothing but stellar. Making a movie feel like a Disney movie is not only just not a bad thing, but it's also completely in line with Shrek being a parody of Disney fairy tale films.
Did anyone else notice that the movie Shrek literally just makes fun of Disney the entire time? First off, the song Welcome to Duloc is based on It's a Small World. It's a parody that even has the same exact beats per minute as It's a Small World. Throughout the movie, there are several other details, including Fiona singing with a bluebird, relating to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Donkey and Shrek looking at the stars like in The Lion King, and Fiona turning back into an ogre, just like the Beast turns back into a human in Beauty and the Beast. A lot of the animators and producers that worked on the movie Shrek had previously worked at Disney. As mentioned in another one of my videos, Lord Farquaad was even based on the Disney CEO Michael Eisner at the time, who did not get along with Jeffrey Katzenberg and other animators who now worked at DreamWorks. The movie Shrek, however, stood out because it did take risks that Disney never took and still doesn't take to this day.
Secondly, though, I'm gonna have to ask for some sources regarding people comparing the visuals of this teaser to generative AI. First of all, 1. If other people were saying this, where's your source on that?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
The screenshot that was shown during that segment was instead discussing how it looked to be in the Puts in Boots style and how it triggered people's fight or flight after they were comfortable with the original look, which I don't even think this is in the Puss in Boots style, given there were others who had made note that it wasn't. And the designs from the visuals I have seen from that movie do look to have a different art style than Shrek 5. While I can definitely see how these styles are similar to each other, the biggest difference I can see from The Last Wish is its reliance on watercolors and saturation, the feeling of much more snappier expression when characters are talking, and the fact some of the action scenes are in stop motion-esque animation that's comparable to that of the Spider-Verse films.
Hey, Giant! Hey, you wanna see something cool?
People are still allowed to feel dissatisfied by the changes from The Last Wish to Shrek 5, and even from the older Shrek movies to 5, though I do feel claiming both 5 and Last Wish share similar styles is a bit of a stretch. 2. If that was just you claiming this video was made with AI, you're gonna have to show proof. Cause from what was said about this trailer, no one has made the claim it was. There was at least one that brought up the trailer leaning too heavily into the meme culture of Shrek's fanbase, which is completely fair.
Nah, we gotta talk about the thing that really infuriated me. They're leaning into the meme culture. Wow, isn't that awesome? It's Shrek memes. Now don't get me wrong, obviously there is no way in hell this is gonna be a scene in the final film. This is obviously just a teaser, and it would be stupid to say the whole film is washed as a result. But at the same time, this is a really bad omen.
But no one has said anything yet about them looking like generative AI. You could probably make the case of the first image being a riff of people using AI or filter-like technology, as that one is supposed to mimic filters that you'd see on stuff like TikTok or other similar apps, but that's purely speculation on my end, especially since we still know nothing about this movie or if this gag will even be featured in it. If I'm wrong, do correct me on that one.
After all, the new one is supposed to have a time skip, and you can tell that the characters have visibly aged. However, the reveal is remarkably similar to the first reveal of the Sonic movie back in 2019, which ended up with the internet bullying the results so hard that the studio completely changed the design. Perhaps the same thing will happen here due to the outcry stemming from only a few seconds of footage.
So, ignoring the fact you acknowledge the reason for Shrek's appearance and that it's a time skip, and they're supposed to look much older than they originally were, and yet still complain about it, well, once again, where are you even getting this information in the first place? The image of the Sonic Redesign article wouldn't count as proof of people claiming this movie needs to have its design drastically changed similar to Sonic's. Though, because there were people on Blue Sky who have brought up this phenomenon of people doing this, I'll at least concede that this was a thing that was happening. Given that, however, allow me to go over why I feel like this notion in a general sense isn't all that comparable. For starters, Sega and the creators of Sonic were not in the know of what Sonic's design for the movie would have looked like before its reveal in the first teaser trailer. This is especially evident when Naoto Oshima, the character designer of Sonic's original game design, was worried about what adult fans of Sonic would think about the new design. And it wasn't until Tyson Hesse had aided in the design change that Sega were confident in the direction that Paramount was going. Meanwhile, Shrek's creators will more than likely be in charge of the designs, given DreamWorks is at the helm just like with the other Shrek movies. Since this movie is still in production, it is hard to say whether or not the character designers for Shrek were fully on board with this decision or not. However, it's extremely unlikely that this will even occur when the reason for Sonic's drastic change was far more of an issue than just X character got a redesign and looks older. The drastic outcry for Sonic's change was fair since it wasn't faithful at all, while Shrek's redesign here is just that, a redesign. You're free to think it looks ugly and off-putting to you, but this comparison is unfair and factually not needed. Seriously getting annoyed with this pattern of people claiming the visuals need to be changed just for looking different, and I'll have far more to say about that in my final thoughts.
I mean, how did they make a character that is supposed to be ugly even uglier? In a way, he almost looks more similar to the very first iteration of Shrek where he looked a little less family friendly.
I seriously don't see this comparison. The first iteration of Shrek's appearance is literally meant to look ugly and unapproachable, yes, but this aged up redesign looks nothing like that version. If anything, as a character designer is speaking, he looks a lot more approachable than any other version that came before him. We don't know a lot about this movie yet still, of course, so for all we know, he could still have that side of him where he's antagonistic to others outside of his family and friend group, as we've seen with him returning to that lifestyle in Forever After. But given how old he is and the little expressions we do see of him, it's safe to say he's mellowed out over the years and is slightly more innocuous. Also, just a small thing to end on, but less family friendly? I know that was more in reference to the possibility of him being not for audiences of younger ages, but if he was made to be less family friendly, I do wonder how he was even able to obtain a family of his own. Anyway, the last bit of the video just discusses the usage of the Shrek memes within the announcement, and I don't really have much to say regarding that. So with that, I'll be moving on to the final thoughts. If it wasn't apparent yet what my thoughts were towards the backlash of Shrek 5's redesign, I frankly don't see how it's as big of an issue, especially not when there's over 682,000 dislikes on the announcement video alone. Guys, I completely understand being skeptical about the redesigns and being thrown off by them. While I personally don't see an issue with them, I completely get how them looking older and with a more polished look, as strange as it might come across, would make them seem less faithful to how they originally looked back in the previous movies, and I completely understand how that would be a major turnoff for people. But what I don't get is how that would at all justify a want to harass the developers to a point where they're forced to change the design like with the Sonic movie's first teaser. While I can see how it was warranted with Sonic's case, given how drastically off-putting and unfaithful the design was, the worst that Shrek's design did was make the characters aged up. I don't think it's that bad of a design, and I certainly don't agree with the need to change it right away. At least give it some time before reaching a conclusion. As for the video in question lessons, while overall it's a generally good discussion starter on the thoughts towards the announcement as a whole, the opening of the video did leave much to be desired. When making a claim about what the general audience's thoughts were towards the redesigns, it's definitely best to actually showcase some examples of these reactions. This is especially in regards to you claiming people were comparing this to AI, when that has yet to be proven. And aside from the want to change the design like with the Sonic example I've already brought up, you also compare the design to the very first iteration of Shrek, which isn't really as strong of a connection as you thought it was. Overall, there was a lot of overreactions that plagued the beginning of this video, and I definitely think you could drastically improve on your future content by both seeking out examples that might contradict the overgeneralization and engaging in the discussion to find more nuanced thinking in relation to the topic at hand. I feel like that's all that I wanted to cover. I'm Jack Soroth, and I hope you all stay safe on your adventures. Hey, thanks for watching this video of mine. I do want to briefly apologize for not only how long these past few Bardic Quickies have been, but also with how long it's been since I've even uploaded a scripted video. I'm still trying to get used to how I'm wanting to format them, so I do hope this video will have drastically improved on at least that front. I've even been thinking about changing the format of my videos moving forward, so do expect new types of videos from me hopefully soon. If you want to see more from me, I have been uploading old unreleased vocal covers recently if you're at all curious about the progression of my musical journey. With that, I hope you all enjoy what I have next in store. See ya!
So let's go! We're growing as about raging on! And you know that debate's an opportunity to grow! We're never giving up! Our determination is what makes us strong!